Hi, and welcome to the Used Book Selling on Amazon course. Now, this course is going to consist of 8 classes. This is the first class, as well as 8 Q&A sessions over the next 8 to 10 weeks. Now, first off, you need to download the mind map software that you see in here, so you'll be able to open up the class mind maps. And there's a link right below this video where you can go to the website to download that software absolutely free. And then once you download it and install it, you'll be able to click on each class mind map and load it up just like this. That way you'll be able to see exactly everything that we're covering. All right, now I want to go over real quick what we're going to be covering in each class. So class 1, which is today, we're going to be covering terminology. I'm going to go over the numbers, the profit numbers for selling books, along with the rules that we've set up so it makes it easy for you to determine what books will sell and which books won't sell. Specific resources we'll be using, and setting up your account. All right. Class 2, which will be next week, we're going to cover what to look for when you're sourcing books, the categories that I look for. Along with what I call the BOB, the scanners that you can use. We've got several different choices of scanners at from free to I think around $10 a month. Sourcing, so where I source my books at, where you can source at. Class number 3, we're going to cover the conditions. This is very important that you understand the conditions of the books that you're selling. You've got to get this right. And it's really simple. And I'm even going to give you some condition swipe that you can use. But I want to make absolutely sure that you understand the differences between these different conditions. All right, that's class 3. Class number 4 is going to be a live listing session. So in this class, you're going to sit right with me and watch as I list book after book after book so you can see exactly how it's done. Class number 5 is we're going to then get into arbitrage and being able to find arbitrage opportunities. I'm going to talk about the buy box eligibility, techniques for finding potential arbitrage book candidates, and many different things involving arbitrage. All right, class number 6, we're going to cover some really boring stuff, but we have to do it. The accounting software, and sales tax. This is my least favorite class, but it has to be done. Class number 7 is what I call rule breakers. So up here, I give you some rules to live by on how you're going to be finding your books. Well, down here, I'm going to tell you when you should break those rules, because there's certain cases when you can break them. We're going to talk about outsourcing this, where you can just outsource this to someone else and additional resources. And then finally, in class 8, we'll have our software done by then. So I'm going to be demoing and showing you how to use the arbitrage software that we're putting together. Okay, so those are the 8 classes. All right, so now let's start with class number 1. First off, terminology. Here are the ones that I thought were important. PV, I call this potential value. And potential value is just, does a book have potential value or not? And I use filters to determine if a book has potential value. It's filter, also criteria. You could use either word. It's criteria that I use to find books with a high probability of potential value. So when I'm sourcing, I don't look at every single book that is out there in the source. If I'm at say a library sale, I don't look at every single book. I use the criteria, which I'll be telling you, we'll be talking more about that, but I use my criteria to quickly locate the books that have the highest probability of potential value. All right, so there's a lot of books that I don't even look at. There's other books that I look very closely at. But this way, I don't have to have a scanner out and start scanning and scan every single book that's on the bookshelf. I am a very selective scanner because I can easily recognize if a book has a high probability of potential value. Now, when I say high probability of potential value, I don't mean that the book necessarily is gonna have a high value. It may not. It's just got a higher probability of having value than an average book or another book out there. Okay. Again, I'm going to be going over that in detail. All right. Next terminology, next term you need to know is BSR, or Amazon Bestseller Rank. And you've seen this a million times before. This is the rank that Amazon assigns to every product they have listed, including books. And these ranks are category based. So the rank for toys is going to be different than for books. So books have their own ranking system, and that's crucially important to understand the book ranking system. It's extremely easy, but you need to know it, and we'll be going over that in detail. ISBN. An ISBN is just a unique number used to identify a book on Amazon. So ISBN is a numbering system that actually came into existence in about 1976. So on books before about 1976, you're not going to see an ISBN number. Books after 1976, then you're probably going to see it. Now, the ISBN or UPC. UPC is the barcode that you see on books, or basically you see barcode on almost anything nowadays. But the UPC code is the easiest way to look up a book on Amazon. If you have a scanner. So you just scan that UPC code and it brings it up immediately or almost immediately because it's a unique number. Now, if the book doesn't have a UPC or barcode, then sometimes it will have the ISBN written on the back of the book. Sometimes it's embossed on the back of the book. And then you can just type that into your scanner and it will look the book up. But if it doesn't have a barcode to scan, then as long as the book was not after 1976, it's probably got the ISBN on the inside cover page. And I need to get an example of that. I'll show you an example of that next week, where exactly that's at. But I found some really, really gems, books that were worth a lot of money that the scanning people, the people who just use scanners, just overlooked because they didn't want to take the time to punch in the numbers or look for that ISBN. So if you take the time to look for them, if the books match the criteria that I'm going to lay out for you, then even if it doesn't have a barcode, you need to still look it up. There's some really, really great potential value in books like this that others are leaving behind. All right. Next thing is FBA sellers. So we are FBA sellers. We're going to take our books and we're going to list them on Amazon, and then we're going to put them in a box and we're going to ship them to Amazon. Okay, that's what makes us FBA sellers. And then Amazon is going to put them into their warehouses, and then when the book sells, it's going to be shipped out by Amazon. That gives us a competitive advantage over other sellers who are just selling as merchants. They're selling FBM, or fulfillment by merchant. So FBA, let me go ahead and put this in so we have this, is fulfillment by Amazon. And then FBM fulfillment by merchant. I don't know why anyone would want to be a fulfillment by merchant. I honestly don't. Competitively, you have a much better advantage as being a fulfillment by Amazon. And it's just so much less work. You do all the work one time and it's done. You send it to Amazon, it's done. You have a competitive advantage and you don't have to ship books to customers. I don't see why anyone wants to be fulfillment by merchant. But the good news for us is that most people are fulfillment by merchant. There are many less fulfillment by Amazon people or sellers than there are fulfillment by merchant. That gives us a huge advantage. Okay, third-party sellers. When we start looking at books, we're going to see listings that are known as third-party sellers. That's what we are. We are third-party sellers. FBM is also a third-party seller. I guess the Amazon is considered the second party or first or second party seller, but we are considered third party sellers. Listing a book. Okay, so I wanted to put this in here so you can see when you're actually listing a book, this is all you really need. You know, if you're a Amazon private label seller, you know that when you list a product, you've got lots and lots and lots of stuff you got to list, right? I mean, it could take hours to list product if you're listing as a private label seller, if you're listing your own product. But if you're listing a book, this is all you need. All you have to do is look up the ISBN or the UPC on Amazon, and then you have to enter condition, a condition note, and price. There are a few optional things that you can also enter, like you can also upload a picture of the book. You know, I very, very rarely do that. The only time I ever do that is if the book is priced really, really high and there's no pictures already available of it. Or if maybe I'm selling a collectible book and it's got an autograph or something, then I would enter a picture. But that's very rare. And because you only have to enter this very little information, which I'm going to give you my swipe file for my condition notes to make it really easy for you to enter your condition note, you can list a book in a minute or less. And that's without using a scanner to scan the book and list it. That's just doing it by hand. All right. Conditions. So speaking of conditions, here are the conditions for books. And this does not include collectible because you are not approved for collectible books if you're a new seller. All right. So conditions are new, like new, very good, good, acceptable. And we'll be going over the differences between these. Most of your books are going to be in the very good or good range. When I list books, I always err on the side of the lower condition. So I will very, very rarely ever list a book as new. In fact, the only time I ever list a book as new, if it's a book that's actually in a like a cellophane or in the shrink wrap, then I will feel safe listing it as new. Otherwise, if it's in really great condition and it looks new, I'll put like new. If the condition is like new, then I will put very good. If it's actually very good, I will put good. I always go down one level just because that ensures that that customer is going to have a great experience and they're more likely to leave me good feedback. And price-wise, there's no real difference between these most of the time. There's a few instances where you can take advantage, where you can do some condition arbitrage, but it's pretty rare, and I'll show those examples to you. Okay. Last thing I have here is what I call my Bob scanner, my BOB scanner. This is a scanner that is absolutely free. In fact, you've got one right now. It's sitting on your shoulders, and it's your big old brain. Your big old brain is your best scanning tool because you're going to use that big old brain in conjunction with the criteria I give you to be able to filter out all the worthless books or most of the worthless books out there so that you're only looking at the ones that have a high probability of potential value. Okay, so we'll be using your big old brain more in class 2, but I just wanted you to know what that stands for. All right. Any other questions about terminology? And you can ask questions as they come up or as they come to you, but I just wanted to stop and see if there's anything I'm not explaining that you don't understand or that you've wondered about with selling books. Okay, sounds good. All right, and the other questions, and Suzanne, I will cover those at the end of the session. I just want to talk about terminology right now. Okay, the numbers. Okay, this is the fun part here. I did a spreadsheet, and what I did was I actually pulled my books from the last couple of months and ran some numbers because I wanted to get some. I've got sort of some estimates on how many books will sell and what the numbers are each month and how many will continue to sell over the next few months. But I wanted to get real numbers. So I actually pulled the numbers out from my books and just put them down here in this spreadsheet. And I was actually pretty close to what I thought my estimates would be, but this gives us some real numbers to go by. So I'm going to give you a copy of this spreadsheet too, so you can play around with this. But what this is pull this out right here. I've made a couple of assumptions. Number one, I'm assuming that the average retail price for a book you sell is going to be $19.99. Now, I ran the numbers on mine, and mine was actually $23.50. But I figure mine are probably a little higher than what yours is going to be, so I just backed it down to $19.99. And if at $19.99, you're going to net about $14.09. And I used the FBA calculator to calculate that, but I'll show you how to use the FBA calculator. But at that point, this means that Amazon is making, let's see, take this divided by this. Amazon's making about 29%. Now, the higher the price, the less percentage-wise Amazon will get, but you know they're going to get their fees, and we'll go over their fees in just a few minutes. And I'm also assuming about $1 per book in cost. That's about what I pay. I think the most I generally pay for a book is $1.50, unless I'm getting a specific book that I know is going to be a hot seller from, say, a used bookstore. But about $1 per book. If you figure that as your cost point, you should be good. All right. So those are my assumptions. Now, weekly inventory. So when I announced this class, I said that this was for people who want to make between $500 and $2,000 per month. All right. So what level do you need to earn about $500 per month? Well, I think that's about 30. Yeah, it's about 35 books a week. So if you can source 35 books a week, that's 140 books a month, then that will get you right at the $500 per month level with the assumptions that we made on selling the book for approximately or an average of $19.99 and a cost of about $1. All right, so let me go over these numbers. So your weekly inventory is 35, and then your monthly is just 4 times that. So it's 140 books. So number of books sold. Now this is where this is where it gets good. We have 2 ways of making money with these books. There's actually 3 ways, but the third way we'll cover it in a later class. But the 2 main ways are through your 30-day sales and through your residual sales. So your 30-day sales, what that means is that's the books that sell within 30 days of you listing them. And going back over my books and also talking to other booksellers, the number that I've come up with is 35%. So approximately 35% of my books sell in the first 30 days after they're listed. Okay, so that's going to give you, well, and then here's the unsold book. So if I've listed 140, I've got 91 unsold. My gross numbers, this is the gross sales, 600. I'm sorry, this is gross profit, $690.41. So this is just the 49 times the $14.99 over here, the net. All right, so that gives me a net of $550.41. All right, so there's that $500 number right there, a little bit more. So that's the first month. I don't have any residual sales the first month because they haven't been listed long enough. All right, so then month number 2 comes along. Let's say I don't list anything else. I just want to do 1 month here to show you the numbers. I don't list anything else, just month 1. So in month 2, I have 91 books available to sell because that's how many were not sold already. All right. My residual sales rate for that month after the initial first month, so the second month, is going to be about 10%. All right, so 10% of the books will sell the second month. So that equals about 9 books. All right, so initially I sold 49. Second month you sell a lot less. So I'll sell 9, and that's $128.22 net. Okay. Yeah, that's net. One thing I forgot to mention, right here, the gross. I'm going to shrink some of this down so we can get everything on one screen. All right, that's better. Still not quite. Oh, this is 9, this is month 10, and this is month 11. Just want to try to get everything on one screen so we can see it. Okay, good. Because I don't want to get confused on this retail and this net. I'm using this number here in all my calculations. I'm using this 1409. Okay, so that way we've already taken out all of Amazon's fees when we get to these numbers here. Okay, so this gross number is actually the gross retail, the gross sales, but then actually that's wrong. It's still the net number. Oh, I know what this is. The 690 is our net sales after Amazon fees. Our net number here is after paying for the books. So this number is taking out that $1 per book. So at this point, our books are paid for. Okay, just from our initial 30-day sales, our books are paid for. So once we get down here to the residual sales, this is all gravy. The books are all paid for. All right, so this first month, or actually the second month, but the first month after the initial sales, we're going to sell 10%. So we'll sell $128 in sales. I don't know why my numbers aren't showing up the way they're supposed to. There we go. This 9 books will sell. This one, I think I got some formatting issues because I'm not using Excel. 9% times 82. There we go. I was trying to get smart and use whole numbers, and for some reason when I did that, it screwed up my formatting. So anyway, we're going to have 9 sales, which is about 10%, and that's going to add another $128.22, and that's pure profit here, okay? And then the next month, we're going to sell about 9%. So every month, the sales rank goes down about 1% until it finally, after almost a year, it gets down to nothing. So at this point, you're going to have books left over that didn't sell, but that's perfectly normal. Okay, so 9%, you're going to sell about 7 books, and the next month you're going to sell 8%, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, until finally you get down and you're selling nothing. All right, but this residual income has added an additional $1,107 to your bottom line. All right, now that's just if you just did 1 month's worth of work and then quit. This is what you should expect to see. Now, let's say that we're doing each month the same thing. So now we're going to do 35 books here, and we'll do 35 books here. So every month we're adding another 35 books per week to our inventory. Okay, now you can see now your profit is going up every single month. So you got $678 here, $769, $830, $865, $878, $871. Actually, it went down that there for some reason. But it's now it's hovered around 800. Now it's going down a little bit because our percentages are going down here. Oops. Okay, so that's at the 35 book per week level. And that's a level that anyone can do. It's basically you could spend one day outsourcing and find 35 books that you could send to Amazon each week. And then that's what you should expect. I'm going to actually check my numbers before I send this to you because I didn't really double check this closely before I put it together. But I want to make sure these are all right. Okay, that's at the lowest level. And you're making more than 500 eventually just because of the residual amounts. Now, let's say that you wanted to do 2,000 a month. Well, you just have to do 4 times that, right? So 35 books times 4, you'd need 140 books a week. So if you could do that, then you're making around $33,000 a year. Even though I said 2,000 a month, you're actually making a lot more than that because of the residual sales. So when I was talking about the numbers I talked about, I was just including the numbers up here, not even looking at the residual sales. Now, just for kicks and giggles, what if we really scaled this thing up? And what if we could find 1,000 books a week? Let's not even go that far. Let's just say 500 books a week. At 500 books a week, we would be making $121,000 a year. Now, 500 books a week is more than you could handle yourself. Just because of having to source them at this point, you're going to have to find other sources of books just from sourcing yourself. You're probably going to have to hire employees. You're probably going to need some type of area to work in because the inventory that you're bringing in before you get it shipped to Amazon is going to be too much for you to handle in your house. Okay, that's when you get into scaling this up, which we'll talk about in class number 5. So let's just back this off now, and what do we say? 35 times 4, 140. So 140 should be manageable if you want to take it that far. Or if you just want to start slow, I suggest to start with 35. But you can see how the numbers change there. Okay, so that's sort of the numbers, sort of ballpark numbers on what you can expect. Now let's look at some listing examples. I've got in the spreadsheet several books, well, actually quite a few. I think I pulled 100 books. Well, it ended up being 99 or 98 books that I've sold recently. And I just wanted to show you some examples using these books, because these are books that I actually sold. And so we can see the actual sale price. Let's look at this one, Nothing But Motion. It sold for $34.99. And this is Amazon's number for this book, so I'm going to use that to look it up. And there's nothing really unusual about this book. This is just a regular old book I found at a thrift store. All right, so we look it up, and it's Nothing But Motion. It's got just this ugly red cover, and you see the price here is $89.27. All right, so what I want to do is I'm going to click here to go in and get some more details about the book. All right. First thing I want to do is I'm going to scroll down here, and I'm going to look to see what the bestseller rank is. In this case, the bestseller rank is a little over 2 million. I've heard a lot of people who say don't buy books that have a bestseller rank of over 1 million, or don't buy books that have a bestseller rank of over 750,000. That's a myth. I make a lot of money on books that are bestseller ranks of over 1 million and even over 2 million. You can see here the ISBN. You've got the 10-digit and 13-digit. There's different ones for some reason. I don't know why. Doesn't matter. All right, so let's go back. Now we know this is a book that falls within a range that I will look at. And I'll give you my rules here in a minute on what I look for when I'm buying. But I just wanted to show you sort of overview of this. So now you see here, they're listing the hardcover, they're listing other sellers. All right, so this other sellers, this is all the third-party sellers. You can also, it's the same thing right here, 8 used, if you click this. Oh, and you see right here, it says, this item is only available from third-party sellers. So this means that Amazon is not selling this item. Just means that it's probably out of print and Amazon can't get a supply of it. So that means, if you want to own this book, you're going to have to buy it from a third-party seller. All right, so let's look at third-party sellers here. And it doesn't really matter which one of those buttons or links you click. Either one of these will send you to the same place. Okay. Even this one, same thing. Okay, so we get here, and now we see that the lowest price this book is listed at is $89.27 plus $3.99 shipping. What does this tell us? This tells us that the lowest price up here is not even an FBA price. All right, we want to compete only with FBA sellers. And so we ignore all these sellers here, and we click on the free shipping option. This free shipping option, it might as well be called FBA sellers only, because that's really what it is. Free shipping means it's an FBA seller. So if you click that, look at this. There are no sellers in this listing. So if I were to find this book today, I would probably list it for $99, maybe even $199. Because there's no other FBA seller listed. Okay, let's look at another one. Remarkable Trees of Virginia. Let's get that one because I remember buying that. No, that's not the one I remember, but let's look at it anyway. There was one up sold on trees that was an encyclopedia of trees that that sold almost immediately for like $75. But let's look at this one. All right, I'm going to enter in let's copy and paste in the number, and we get Remarkable Trees of Virginia. Okay. We see here that we have, it's the hardcover. It looks like Amazon is selling this one because it doesn't say anything about third-party sellers here. We have a used copy, so let's go ahead and click on this right here, $25.59, new and used. All right, and we're going to go over here, and we're going to click on free shipping. All right, now, so you see there's several FBA sellers in here selling this book. But the good news is the lowest price is $29.56. So if I buy this book for $1, then I can list it at $29, let's say $28.99, and I'll be the low seller. Now let's go back and look to see the bestseller rank for this book. Oh, look, it's 448,000. That's a really good bestseller rank. So now let me go back to my spreadsheet. Let me see how much I sold that book for. I sold it for $29.99. So that's right in there about the same level as the other sellers. Just a stupid little book about trees. Isn't that pretty exciting, though? Now, we're going to be going over this next week on what to look for, but I will tell you right here, this is a very good sign. You see this publisher? Publisher is the University of Virginia Press. Anytime you see University of and the word press, that is a book that has a potential high value. All right, so always check those books that say the University of whatever and the word press, because a lot of times the university presses, they just don't print a whole lot of those books, so they are rare. Okay, you want me to show you a couple more? I mean, I think this is educational here, or ordinary differential equations. I mean, what a boring sounding book that is, but you know why that book has value? Let me show you. Oh yeah, that's a good one. This book did not even have an image, and I can't remember if I uploaded an image or not. Let's see how much I sold mine for. Ordinary differential equations, $49.99. Not bad, huh? Well, it's a book, obviously it's on math. Anytime I find a book on math or any of the sciences that's really specific, then I take a look at it. This book, it's on, it's a math book, but it's on differential equations, ordinary differential equations, so it's really specific. So I thought, wow, this could have some value. So let's look at the bestseller rank for this book. All right, this one, 1.9 million. And I don't remember how long it took to sell this book, but it was less than 6 months anyway. Here we have one new one that's listed at $2,400, and we have we have 5 used from $105. Let's click on free shipping, and there are no FBA sellers. And I think that might have been what I think there might have been one other seller when I sold mine, or I listed mine. Can't remember exactly. Let's go back to the spreadsheet. I want to look at one like this. All right, so this book sold for $7.99. This is what I call one of my bread and butter books. You know, it's just an ordinary book that I pay 50 cents or $1 for, and it sells for, you know, $7, $8, $9, $10. Organizing Your Family History. I remember this book. I bought this book at an estate sale, and the estate sale, the guy, I guess the guy had moved, or he had moved into a nursing home or something or whatever, but he was obviously into genealogy, because he had a ton of books on genealogy, and I bought a bunch of them, and I'm pretty sure all of them sold. This is one of the lower priced ones that was in that collection. But you can see here, it's got a price of 1 cent. It's a paperback book. It's got a price of 1 cent used and new. So let's go ahead and click on that. And you can see that there's 2 penny books here with $3.99 shipping. One's listed for 2 cents. That guy's trying to double his money at $3.99. But if we look at the free shipping, you see that there the prices go up substantially. So I guess when I listed mine, there were some more listed that caused me to list mine at a lower price than this. But still, I pay $1 for a book and make $7.99. I'm not sad about that. Let's look at the bestseller rank for this book. See, okay, yeah, and this is a fast seller too. So this book probably sold within the first month. Bestseller rank is 182,000. Okay. Anybody want to see any more of those books you see on my spreadsheet that you want to see just in particular? I can show you any of these you want to see. Okay. All right. You can really kind of look at this and get a good idea for the types of books I look at, but I want to go over that in greater detail next week. Star Wars. Yeah. Where was that one at? Oops. I'm trying to find it. I can't find my. I can't find my search box. There it is. Yeah, I'm an Excel guy. I'm used to using Excel, and this is Open Office, and so I have a hard time with it. All right, Fatal Alliance, Star Wars. This is a book that I normally would not buy, so I have to try to remember why I bought this one. This does not match my criteria, but it did sell for $14.49. The reason I bought it was probably because it had a really nice looking cover, and it just kind of caught my eye. Because I generally don't buy fiction. Unless it has a really nice looking cover. If it's science fiction or mythology or fantasy, and it's got a nice, yeah, it's got this really cool looking cover, that's why I bought it. So if we click here, all right, and that's the Kindle edition. This was actually a hardcover. All right, the book rank, it's a little under 1 million in ranking, and you can see here that there were no FBA sellers. So that's always a good sign, always a good sign. So it ended up being a good buy, but doesn't generally match the criteria that I use. Yeah, I can get you a copy. I can give you a copy of the spreadsheet with all my books too. Can you please explain the bestseller rank more? Yeah, I will. We're going to cover that in more detail when we get to the rules section. I think that's coming up right now. Yeah. All right, the rules. Here are my rules. They're very, very simple. Number one, use Bob to find potential value books. Remember what Bob is? That's your big old brain. So you use your big old brain using the criteria that we're going to cover next week to find your high potential value books. And then you use a scanner, a scanning tool, and I'll show you which one I use, and then we'll go over the options. But use a scanning tool and look for books that first off, you pick out the books that your Bob tells you are good books to look at, all right? And then you scan those books. And on those books, you're looking for books where the lowest FBA seller has a price of greater than $8. It's actually $7.99, but we're not going to split hairs. So greater than $8. Buy any book with a bestseller rank of less than 1 million. Okay, these are my bread and butter books. You know, the ones that are between $8 and around $16, $17. Those are bread and butter books. All right, or where the lowest FBA seller is greater than $16, then buy any book with a bestseller rank of less than 2,500,000. Okay, let me shrink that down a little bit so it's all on the screen, and I want you to look at that just to let it sink in on what I'm saying here. So maybe we should use an example here of one of the books here. Let's just go back. Let's find one that has FBA sellers. Let's look at this one. Cases and materials on contracts. Okay, here we go. Let's see. Hardcover, more buying choices right here. Okay, on this one, how'd you like to find this book? How would you like to find this book in a thrift store a mile away from your house? That's exactly what I did. So anyway, this one, the lowest FBA seller is $119. Okay, let's look at all right, so going back to our rules here. Okay, so it's definitely greater than $16, right? So now I'm going to buy this book as long as the bestseller rank is less than 2,500,000. So let's look at the bestseller rank. This one, the bestseller rank is 66,000. So this book not only is selling for a lot of money, it's going to sell really quickly. It's probably, it's a textbook is why. It's a textbook for law students. So it's this valuable book. All right, let's look at another one using our rules. Let's look at this one, Dinosaurs in a Haystack, Reflections in Natural History. All right, this one. Oh, that was an audio cassette. It got mixed in with my books, so we're going to ignore that one because that's a totally different thing. Doll's House Furniture Book. Let's look at that. We'll cover audio cassettes and things like that in a later class. All right, Doll's House Furniture Book. New and used price. Okay, we're going to click the free shipping right here, right? $22.54 is the lowest price for FBA sellers. Let's go back and look at the ranking. The ranking is less than 1 million. So definitely we're going to buy that one. And let's see how much I sold that book for. $19.99. Donna White's Beginning Golf for Women. Let's look at that one. Oh, this is not a book either, so that one doesn't count. Dr. Tom Plott's Asthma Guide for People of All Ages. Let's look at that one. Amazon does not give you a good way of pulling down a report on just one category. So, for instance, I can't pull a report down from Amazon that tells me to show me all the books that I've sold. And so I have to pull a report down for everything and then filter out the things I don't want to see. And sometimes I miss stuff. All right, so here we go. This is a penny book here. Let's click on free shipping. All right, so right here, it's showing me that this is priced at $5.46. So this one, using my own rules, I would not buy. Now, the reason I bought it is probably because at the time I bought it, it probably was within this range, because right now there's two that are outside the range. So let's see how much I sold that book for. $10.99. So that was probably the case where these two competitors were probably not there. Now let's look at bestseller rank. So it's a little over 1 million. So definitely I would not buy that book today to list it. Now you could say, if it's under 1 million in ranking, then it's going to sell fast. And so you could think kind of mentally to yourself, well, there's two competitors out here that are under my price. They're going to sell out pretty quickly. And so I can price mine at $8.44, and then I'll be the low seller. That sounds rational, but it hardly ever works out. So for a book like that, I would just stick with my rules. Now, you might be thinking, well, what happens if you buy the book and then, 3 other people list the book at the same time? Well, that's why approximately 35% of your books are not going to sell. And we know that, and that's factored into the equation, and so that's just part of the business. Okay? All right, everybody understand this now? There are lots of granulations that you can use within these, but this, I just wanted to simplify it as much as possible. And this, I think, is very simple. All right, let's look at some resources. Okay, Camel. I want to show you this because this is how you can kind of confirm how quickly a book sells. I use this tool quite a bit. I don't use it as much now that I have sort of my own rules I go by. But if you're in doubt about buying a book, then you can use Camel to look it up. Camel's right there. Let's take that last book that I looked at, and we'll look it up on Camel. All right, and Camel can be a little finicky on how you look something up. What they really want you to use is, let's go back to product description. They want you to use the ISBN 10 to look up a book. That will generally find it on Camel. There we go. So that found the book. Now this gives you a couple of pieces of really good information. Number one, it shows you the price history. So you can see how much this product was bringing over the last year or so. So you see at one time it was going for $22. Now this is the list price. It's not necessarily the price it sold for, but you can kind of see what it was listed at. But right here, sales rank. This is really valuable because this shows you how many times this product sold. Every uptick, you can figure every uptick on this chart is a sale, because that's when the bestseller rank changes dramatically. So I'm going to take this back to just a 3-month period and look. Now we can see, okay, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 sales. So in the last 3 months, that book sold 4 times. All right, does that make sense? So let's say that you find a book and it's got a bestseller rank that's way over 2.5 million. Let's say it's 4 million. But you look it up and you see that that people have it listed for $300. Well, do you buy it or not? Well, if it's a dollar book, then I might go ahead and buy it anyway. Or you could check Camel, Camel, Camel and see if it's ever sold before. See if it's sold in the last year. And you say, wow, I can invest $1 today, and this book could potentially sell for $300 within the next year. So yeah, I'm going to do that. Okay, that's why I say it's not written in stone, but you can use these different tools to determine what you buy. Okay, you go back. Camel, Camel, Camel. Another resource that's really good resource to use is the FBA calculator. And this is Amazon's calculator, which shows you all their different fees. So let's take one of the other books. Which one? Remarkable Trees. Let's take that one. Remarkable Trees of Virginia. And I'm going to load up the FBA calculator. Just enter in the number, click search. That one also didn't find anything. So sometimes you got to look it up on Amazon using that number. That's the number in the spreadsheet that I got when I downloaded it. For some reason, they don't include the ISBN or the ASIN with the product. So I'm going to go down here and get the 10-digit ISBN. Now I can use this. All right, so there's the book. And I sold that one, I think, $49.99. So you can see all Amazon's fees. So Amazon took $12.04. So that's basically, that's 24% right there. So you can see what they're charging you for every little thing there. What this is really handy for is when you're doing estimates, like when I used this, when I created the spreadsheet, I used this to determine what the average price or the average fee Amazon charges for a book. So I didn't want to have to look up every single one. But it's just a handy resource to have. All right, what else do we have? Okay, my scanner that I use right now, I've actually got 3 scanners, but Profit Bandit is the one that I tend to use the most. And it's $10 per month. It has made me a ton of money. So it pays for itself over that month. I'm trying to get my screen so you can see kind of what it looks like. Okay. So right here, when you first scan an item, so there's a scan button right here. You click the scan button, and then you scan the barcode or the ISBN, whatever you have, which is right here. See how it puts a green box around it, and then that scans it and brings the information in. And then you'll see the information right here, just like this. And what you have here is you have the title, you have a picture of the book, you have the list price of the book. The bestseller rank is right here. Okay, so it's vital information that it's given you right here. So we see right off the bat, this is a book that's under 1 million. All right, and then we see over here, we see, and I'm sighing on that because this information here, it would be awesome if it was correct, but it's not. The FBA sellers here, you can't rely on this. It's not accurate. The problem is that Amazon will not allow the vendors of the software, of any software, to have access to all of their FBA cells. They keep that information very close to the chest, so they only give you a certain number. They only give the vendors a certain number, and so they show you what they have. All right? The columns over here are more likely to be accurate, but not always. So you can't take these numbers as gospel. You've got to take it a step further when you're actually looking at a book. And we're going to talk about that in more depth next week. I just wanted you to be aware of that if you try to take these numbers as the actual numbers, you're going to be buying stuff that you shouldn't. Okay. And then they've got this loss down here. This loss is calculated off of the lowest price here. And since we don't know if these are FBA sellers or not, this is pretty much worthless information. So this loss here, we don't go by that. The way that I actually determine if this is a book I'll buy or not is I will click this button right here that says All FBA. When you click All FBA, it will take you, in the app, it will take you out to that page on Amazon that shows you this right here, okay? And it'll have that already checked for you. So this is what you'll see in your app when you click on that FBA button. And now you have the information to make a decision on whether or not you want to buy that book. Let's go ahead and grab that same book, the Publication Manual of the American Psychological Association. I don't know which edition that is, but we know, oh, it's right here. Right here it is. All right, so let's look at the used ones, and let's look at free shipping. Okay, lowest one is $3.90, and here it had the same. So in this case, it was accurate, but it's normally not accurate. So that's why you always have to click on that All FBA button, and that's why I like Profit Bandit, is that they have that button there that you can click and that you can see it at a glance, all the FBA sellers. Okay. There's lots of other features in Profit Scanner. There's a settings that you can set. I just leave it at the default settings. You can get a history, so you can go back and pull up stuff that you've scanned in the past. The profit calculator thing, this is pretty much worthless because it just doesn't calculate it right. So I never use that. It's got a buy list, so you can add something to a buy list if something that you plan to buy. Oh, and it's got a button that goes directly to Camel, Camel, Camel. So right here, you click on the CCC, and it will look up that product on Camel, Camel, Camel. So it makes it very easy to do that. And that's about it. So that's why I recommend that scanner, just because of the FBA button and the Camel, Camel, Camel button. All right, setup. One last thing I want to tell you about here is how to select one inbound warehouse. So when you start selling on Amazon, selling FBA, Amazon is going, when you start listing your items and to ship them out, Amazon is going to many times have you send them to different warehouses. So let's say that you've just listed 10 books and you want to ship them to Amazon, and you start the listing process and the shipping to Amazon process. And when you get to the end, it says, okay, ship to these 3 warehouses. So now you've got to take those books and you got to break them up, and you got to ship 3 to one warehouse, 4 to another warehouse, and 3 to another warehouse. And you're going to have to pay shipping charges on all 3 shipments. Besides it usually costs you more because of the extra shipping. Sometimes you might be shipping one item to one warehouse, and that's just going to eat all your profits up. Besides that, it's just a real pain in the butt, and it really messes up the process that I use when I'm listing my books. I've got a certain process that I'm going to show you, and it's very process oriented. So anything that throws a monkey wrench in that just really throws me off. That's why I select the inbound warehouse selection. And the way you do that is log into your Amazon Seller Central account, click on Settings, which is the top right, click on Fulfillment by Amazon. Here, you'll see Inbound Settings. Click Edit. It will be set for distributed inventory placement. You can change it to inventory placement service. Now, caveat, they do charge for this. They didn't when they first offered it, but now they do charge, and it's a per item charge. And I did an analysis of all the products that I sold over like a couple of month period, I think 3-month period. And the distributed inventory cost me 2.5% of profit. So that's what I paid for that. But I'm willing to pay that because it allows me to ship to just one warehouse, so that it makes it much easier, and you also save a little bit of money off on the shipping. I don't think you save enough to pay for the service, but you do save some. So that's going to be up to you whether or not you want to use that or not. The other way, if you're not going to use inventory placement service and you just want to do distributed, you got to realize you're going to be shipping to multiple warehouses. But what you do is make sure that you have a lot of items to ship at once. Okay, you don't want to ship just 10 items because you're going to end up shipping 10 items to 3 warehouses, and it's not going to be worth it. You want to wait until you have at least 100 items, or maybe say at least 50 items. That way, if they make you ship to 3 warehouses, you're going to have nice full boxes for all 3 warehouses. Okay, and then if they try to get you to ship one item to one warehouse, what I generally do is I just delete that shipment, and then I'll try to ship it again next time. Okay, that's all for this presentation. We're going to be going over, let me pull up next week's so I can show you what we're going to be going over. Again, I just wanted to use this session to set the groundwork so you kind of know what our terminology is, what the rules are as far as what we buy. And then in class 2, we're going to get more in depth into exactly what I look for, what types of books I look for, which categories that I particularly look at. We're going to look at the other scanners. I showed you Profit Bandit today, but there are some other scanners out there, and there's a free scanner as well that you can use. And then sourcing, so where I source, where I find my books, and that should be a nice full class there. All right, everyone have a great night, and I'll talk to you next week.